Yay. It is April 5th. We're in the midst of a pandemic. None of us have left well, some of us have left our houses, but we haven't done anything for like 3 weeks now. Maybe longer than that. I feel like
All it's been is
I
3
think it's
weeks.
only been 3 weeks since it got really bad and they like locked everything down. Anyway, tonight Heidi's going to talk to us about our stories and why they're so important. So we're on chapter 4 of the book. There we go. Get Over Your Damn Self.
Can you see it?
It's very blurry. Or not blurry, just bright.
Too bright. I got this big light on here. I don't know. Closer to the dark. Anyways, Romy Rostad, get over your damn self.
Yep.
Romy Nostad, something like that.
So I'll just let you take it away.
Good. All right. So I took notes so that my brain stays focused. Otherwise, I tend to wander. Chapter 4 is called What is Your Story? And as you guys know, we are in a business where we are kind of paid storytellers. People get to know, like, and trust you by what you say in your posts and by what you share in your stories. So the better you are, honestly, at telling your story, the more successful you'll be. And that's just the truth of it. And so it's important for you to take some time to think about crafting that story and editing that story and making that story authentic, but yet something that draws people in. And then on the flip side of that, as you continue to grow teams, and I think this is something that probably we all could do a little bit better with each other, is to help each other as we think about crafting those stories and then sharing those stories with each other, so that we have kind of like I'm going to not think of the right word. I'm going to think like a smorgasbord. I must be hungry of stories that you can share. And we'll talk a little bit more about that as we move forward. So you know that we all have facts. We can go into our online offices and we can see the facts behind all of the programs and what they're about and what they're going to do. But it's the stories behind those facts that really get people drawn in. And so you've heard it before, facts tell but stories sell. And so you want to be sure when you are crafting your posts and talking in your stories and having conversations with people that it's more of an emotional connection for what it did for you and how things have changed for you, not necessarily what the facts of the facts of what you're using and the programs that you're using. Humans, we act on emotion, right? You see, regardless of what that emotion is, if you're left feeling laughter or anger, or you're going to remember that situation a lot more. And so as you're thinking about crafting that story that you're going to use a little bit more frequently, I would say probably all of us could think about the emotion behind what's happening. So what are the elements? There are 4, and I'll say them once through and then I'll talk about each one. So the elements are who you are and where you've been. What in your life has caused you to look for something more? How you got introduced to our company, Beachbody, and why you had to be a part of it, and 4, what it is doing for you and what it's going to do for you. So the first one is thinking about, and we've done this before, I'm sure you guys have been on a call or maybe done this before, where you think about who you are or who you maybe were as you're trying to craft posts and who you've become now. So who did you used to be prior to getting experience and with this program and with this community, and who you are now and where you've been and where you are now. So thinking about the changes that have happened in your life, beyond that factual, beyond the program, beyond the inches, beyond the pounds, dig a little bit more deeper, because people are interested in that aspect of it. But all of you know that if you're only in this for that physical part of it, that wears off quickly. You need a deeper connection with it. So really dig deep yourself. So who are you and where have you been as you're thinking about crafting your story? The second one is, what in your life has caused you to look for something more? So what happened? What happened in your life? What's that pain point? What's going on? And again, this is going to change. And if you've been at this long enough, that pain point is going to change. But what is going on that's making you need something different in your life right now? So think about that. And then just allow yourself to kind of jot down some ideas. And even if that's changed for you, I think it's okay to think about where you were, and that where you were is still a reason why you did it, but where are you now and why is that different? And what got you from that point to the point that you're at now? It's important to share how you got it started with Beachbody, or who introduced you to that, and why you just had to be a part of it. I always think back to my experience and scrolling and seeing Laura, who I didn't know was Laura. I mean, I knew Laura, but I didn't know it was Laura because she had like black hair and looked totally different. And it literally took me 1 week of a challenge group, and I was like, yep, this is for me. And so sharing the what behind that, well, for me, it just reignited that passion that I love, that motivational educator, that leader role in what that did for me. And so I was able to dig into that and love that part of it. Hey, get the dog, please. Sorry. What? She won't come in. Well, go put her in the basement. And then what is it doing for you, or what is it going to do for you? And I think sometimes we think about that, well, I'm too new in this. And so if you're re-listening to this call and your journey is new for you, like Romy talks about, she is Rodan and Fields. If you guys didn't know that, she's like the creator of the Rodan and Fields company, and they train their people that you're starting out and you're going out and you're recruiting people before you even use the products, because your belief is based on what's happened with people's lives and not that you've actually experienced it. So speak from a spot of where are you going to be. Manifest for that. I think back to my first year's coaching, and when I started to realize that this could become something that could supplement and I could be home more, then I started talking more about that, because I knew that could happen. And so I started speaking about that more in posts, even, so that because then, right, we talk it, we speak it, we put it out there into the world, and then those things can come to us. So what is it doing for you, or what are you wanting it to do for you? So be careful, be thinking about those kinds of things. So I'm just going to share hers real quick here, and then we'll go on to a couple other things. So when she talks about who you are and where you've been, she was tied to the billable hour and at the beck and call of her clients her entire career, first as a lawyer and then as a PR executive. So where have you been? I mean, for me, when I'm thinking about my own story, I'm thinking about busy, chaos, trying to throw all the balls in the air, doing way too many things, trying to be a people pleaser. And so think about those things in your life of who you were that really were just not serving you well and are not a positive part of what was happening in your life because of what you were doing. What's happened in your life to cause you to look for something more for her. But as a mom of 2 little ones, I want more flexibility to own my own schedule and to make more money to get further ahead. It's a tall order for a working mom, but I found a way to have it. How you heard about your company. My PR client introduced me to it. She was funding the business. She hired me to promote through her side gig with my current company. And I immediately recognized that this was a way to build my exit strategy from corporate America to the lifestyle I really wanted. And then the last one, what's it doing for you or going to do? I'm excited to grow a team and a customer base around my PR practice, the kids, and all the other things on my plate to create the lifestyle I really want. And I'm excited to help others have more options too. So here's the reasoning behind this story, and a lot of their, and I only know this because I was prospected by Rodan and Fields. Any of you been prospected by a Rodan and Fields? They're very versed in it, and it's exactly this. I mean, they're gonna get you on a call next, and there's gonna be 3 people on the call, and it is very much this way. But they do a lot of their recruiting through more of this conversation. It's on the phone or it's face to face is a lot of what they do. And so you're supposed to have this kind of story ready to go that just is real quick, a minute, and so that you can just share what it's doing for you to get people drawn in. We can use this in our posts too. And I think if you challenge yourself to maybe one time a week, think about a part, go back to that very first idea of what you used to be and who you are now. And I don't know if you guys are doing that still. I've kind of gone away from it. And this reminded me that I need to get back to that. Who was I and who am I now? And why is this so beneficial for me? And so that speaks to that story, that's storytelling. And so even though we maybe don't follow necessarily the same thing like this, it's still beneficial for us to think about all 4 of those areas. Now, this is what was most intriguing to me. She talked about the things that you should leave out of your story. And I was like, oh, guilty of some of these things. And so things that aren't essential. I think sometimes you go with me now, word vomit, right? Blah, way too much information. People don't need to know all the programs you've done and everything about them, and what a power hour looks like, and simple. I was frazzled and now I'm balanced, and I have my coaching life to thank for that. It doesn't have to be, all of the details, because we get those details as we get into the community. Leave out suggesting behaviors that you don't want them to do. So she talked about how in one person's story, they talked about how they researched every little bit. Well, you wouldn't want somebody to research Beachbody, because they're going to come up with not necessarily good things. You don't want anybody researching any company, because if you Google, you're going to find both sides of anything, really. And so you want to be the source of information for them. Another thing she talked about, I've used the products for years. Well, you also don't want people to think that they have to be experts in these products. You can jump into this business immediately before you've even started a program. What a better time. And I'm guilty of it too. And I think many of my downline coaches think too, that they just needed to have a better transformation or a better story. And the story is the journey. And I think we forget that. So we want to encourage people that you need to jump right in right now. And the more that you buy into that, sharing my story, honestly, I always tell my coaches, the more committed you're going to be to it, because nothing's more scary than having to check in with everybody on your phone every Saturday on your stories to how you're looking in your new program or how you're feeling or whatever. So it becomes an added layer of accountability. Leave out personal product testimonies. Again, this speaks to, do you have to be an expert in a program or have used a program to be a person who's leading in this business? You don't. You all, I'm sure, have heard stories of coaches who had so many people start at the same time they did, and none of them had completed a program and did very well. And so I think we need to remind especially when new people are starting, that you don't need to have completed a program or to get people doing it with you. Invite your friends, invite other people that you want to be on this journey with you. And then an ending that doesn't contain quantifiables. When you first begin, you can speak of what you think the business will do for you. And so you don't have to necessarily have anything that's necessarily happened to you specifically. You can think about the things that you want to have happen to you through this journey and with this community and by doing this. Okay, I'm gonna move on. And then she mentioned a little bit too about talking. Never hesitate to talk though about the things that it has allowed you to do. So when we're talking, I'm going to backtrack. When she talked about the quantifiables, we always think about money, right? We think about how much money am I making? And while that's, first of all, again, a big red flag. I don't know how many of you have gotten an email from Coach Relations or whatever. I had to take 2 posts down in the last month, and they were like from 2015 or something. I'm like, man, you people are way behind the stick. So anyways, I just took them down. Nobody's reading them anymore from that long ago. But if we speak more in general in terms of what something's doing for us, where we get that emotional connection, I always think about trips that we've taken as families, cars, for payments for kids, loans, student loans, swimming with the dolphins, being able to go part-time. So some of those kinds of things are what good quantifiable things to think about rather than certain amount of money that you've made or a certain rank that you've made, that you maybe have more time for volunteering, or that you are able to put some money into some charitable organizations. Think outside the box of the financial part of that as you're thinking about your story. It's going to evolve. I think I did a practice, wrote my story here, and I'll share it at the very end just because I thought I did this when I wrote the book and I can't find it right now. I'm sure I used it in post, so I could go back whenever I read this book the first time and look at what they were. But she says you want to rewrite it monthly. You want to think about it and think about right now what's happening in our world. Honestly, I mean, I think I could rewrite a story every dang week with what's happening right now in our lives, right? So don't be afraid to think back at least one time a month and just reflect, marinate on what has happened, what's different in your life now after this month, and then share it with people. Share it with your upline coach. Share it with a person that you can consider to be a success partner with you, your spouse, your kids, if they're older children, and can kind of speak to a different you or what's changed. Okay, gotta go back to here. 1 second. I didn't want to write everything down that I wanted to share, so. Well, I don't know. I wrote share stories on page 65, but I don't know what I'm seeing on that page. Oh, sorry, 66. So when you're thinking about your story that you're going to share and you're sharing with somebody else, you want to be adaptable or have something to share with somebody else. And so I would never talk about leaving corporate America, but I know Laura was able to do that. Or I couldn't speak about having to go leave from or cut back on one of my medical positions, but Ellie could. And so we need to be well versed in each other's stories so that when we are talking to somebody that isn't us, I'm talking to probably an educator, because that's what would be the easiest for me, because that's what I left, that's what I know. But I don't know necessarily everybody on our team stories or what they were doing and what they're doing now. And so I don't know if we have maybe a Google document of everybody's stories in there, because it's if you can have a relatable person that somebody can go and see, oh, they're like me, because they found something in you that they enjoy and they like and trust. But if you can also share with them another real person that they can look at and relate to, and that helps them to see how this could be an addition into their life, then that's something that you could do too. And so you think about all the people, the stay-at-home moms, the professional with a full-time job, a working mom, a single mom, lawyer, real estate professional, financial pro, flight attendant, teacher, social worker, just a student, medical professionals, man, we have some men, right? Dan, we have men, a few, so Dan can speak to that for us. Couples building it together, there again, Dan and Laura. So think about people in your downlines that you have, that you can help them craft a story that we can share together, and we can collaborate that together, and then be able to have more of a connection with people that maybe aren't necessarily as easy for us to relate to, because we don't know what's happening in their world every day. I can't speak to Allie. I know she's got to be super crazy busy, but I can't speak to that because I've never lived that. But I can speak to being a classroom teacher and having that 7:30 to 4 o'clock chaos and trying to sneak pockets in. That I can speak to. So it's knowing what each of our stories are can really be beneficial to us as we try to connect with other people who maybe aren't necessarily exactly like us. And so it's just important to build that story library so that we have a place where we can share and know more about each other. All righty. So I'm going to, what I did when I was done with it, and that's really all there is in this chapter, and there wasn't a thing I can take a picture of to show you, like this is the, I can take a picture maybe of the questions that I read to you. But so what I would encourage you to do is kind of go back over those 4 questions. And so I spent maybe a half hour today, and I kept scribbling and ripping out and throwing in the fire and just jotted some ideas down. And so here's what I wrote today. This is what, as I thought about and I spoke this out loud to myself, and I thought this speaks to where I am right now. I spent far too much of my life glorifying busy, chasing approval, and not allowing the true me to speak. When my physical and mental health collapsed under the pressure of that reality, I knew I needed to shake up my routines and write a new chapter in my story. I needed more flexibility in my day and still wanted to be able to provide financially for my family. So when Beachbody entered my life, I hung up my running shoes and traded them for well-balanced home-based workouts and brought others along on that journey with me, which has afforded me the ability to cut back on my hours as an elementary teacher. I'm excited to continue to grow a team of women wanting better balance in their life and to help others see they have more options too. So that was my story I wrote today. So now I need to put that in a post like this week, right? And then in a couple weeks, think about it again, and then think about something different. I mean, we all have different, go back to that who you were and who you are now again, and think, and again, if one, what do they say? A couple longer, even in a week, is probably plenty, and a few shorter. So even once a week, be a little bit more vulnerable and authentic and personal in what you're sharing. Think of, and we've heard that feel, felt, found before too, or how you used to feel, and just it's about really that emotional connection that people have. And so, yeah, we can't, everything can't be that way, because I mean, that would be exhausting. And I think that would be super challenging to have every single thing be so emotionally connected. But if you can challenge yourself to maybe one time a week, go back to those areas of your life that have changed so much and craft a little bit of a story type post, I think it will be super beneficial for people to get to know you better and to connect better with you. That's all I got.
Such good reminders. I used to do this way more and I haven't lately. So it really does. Like, people want to know why we're doing this and how it can even relate. I mean, it's how people, like you said, learn to trust you and who you are and see themselves in some aspect of your story. And that's why, like, pulling different pieces of it, and that takes time to actually like I've had, even now, like, little pieces hit me even after 7-8 years of doing this, like, oh yeah, that's changed my life. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. But then it's obviously, I love the idea of doing this once a week and weaving in just different pieces of your story, and also creating a Google Doc with everyone's. I think I don't know if it would work to like grab the link to someone's post or something and just like all of those in a document.
Yep. Yeah, something to reference, I think. Yeah. I think the other thing is take time to always read through your memories. If you're a journaler, get a journal out from like 5 or 6 years ago and just read it. Or, I mean, I read a post the other day, and it was just from last year, you guys. So here's the uncanny part. 2 years in a row on April 3rd, I was in day 3 of a crash, and I wasn't this year. And so it's like, then you think, what's different? Why am I not? I'm not. That's so great. Yay. I'm so excited about that. But it's powerful to go back and read where you were and what's happening, and just, and then really think about, why is that? What's different than what it was then? I know for me, a huge part of is just being able to have the flexibility to be home. It will always come down to that. I used to thrive on stress, at least I thought I did, and I just don't anymore. I mean, it just doesn't, I'm just not a very good person under pressure anymore. And I like that, and I'm okay with that. I've found something that I can do, that I can do it on my time and my hours, and it fits what I need to do for my life. And that's the key. So
I was scrolling my emails because I know I had done this, and I actually ended up sending it out to a couple people in emails. So I thought since I found it, I can read mine to you guys too.
Yeah.
In the email, I have a paragraph sort of explaining like Beachbody and what it is and what it's about. But then I inserted my story in the middle. Oh, crap. Here it is. Okay, sorry. Okay. So even though I love being a physician assistant, I was having to leave the family and miss events way more than I wanted. working full-time in the clinic and part-time in urgent care. Having 2 little kids at the time, I wanted more flexibility with my time, but needed to still earn a great wage, especially with my hubby home full-time as the primary caregiver. It's a big order to fill, but I found it in coaching. That's totally a direct line from Romy's book. When I learned I could grow a business on my own schedule from wherever on my phone, even with more growth potential than being a PA, and it would actually support my own health and fitness, I fell in love. Since starting, I have been able to replace my income from that part-time urgent care job and cut out a half of a clinic day per week. Now I'm growing a team and a customer base around my clinic job, the fam, and all the things to create a lifestyle I really want, and I'm super psyched to help other gals do the same.
Good stuff.
Good.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Thanks for sharing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Tell me more about compliance emailing you. I have not.
Yeah, I had 2 of them. It was crazy. And I'm like, so twice, and then it was like a link to a post, and then it was so old. I was like, are you kidding me? I'm not, one was like 2000. I could have barely been a coach. I mean, one was like 12, which had to be almost my first year. And then one was in 17.
How would they even find it?
I have no idea. Are they that far behind? Because I'm sure I've had way more. I had just, in fact, had a post about all of the things that I had done, you know, Compassion International. And I thought for sure, I'm like, yep, I forgot to put that stupid disclaimer at the bottom of the post. And it wasn't that post. I'm like, okay. So, I mean, I'm assuming they link a post in the compliance email. They link the Facebook. So I clicked it, and it took 2 there. So
they just tell you you have to delete it?
Well, I edited one that I thought I still wanted to have there and added the disclaimer to it.
Yeah.
It said I had to delete it, but I'm like, I'm not deleting that. I'm just going to add the disclaimer. So what are they going to do to me? I'm like, that's dumb. I wanted that information. I still wanted that post for if I ever want to go back and.
Right, for your memories.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
So, yeah, anyway.
Well, maybe I'll start getting some too, because I know there's been times where I forgot to. I don't like say specific dollar amounts all that often, but I know there's been at least a couple.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
we shall see.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Well, this gives me some ideas for some posts this week. Well, one post anyway, because I haven't shared. I mean, especially if you've been on like social media for a while, and people forget it, and you have new followers too, and they are at different places in their life too, and maybe they're looking for a lifestyle change. You just never know. So
yeah.
Oh
yeah, I saw some stuff about the Shakeology too. They were kind of cracking down on making any kind of claims of any
health claim.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Not surprising.
Right. Yeah.
I saw that someone said it was related to whatever that other company was that got shut down because of the way their business model ran, that they were making sure that we didn't have posts out there like that.
Mm-hmm.
But
like Advocare, that one? Is that the
I
one?
think so, yeah.
That's the one that got shut down, yeah.
Yeah.
Huh. Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess they're just either making you delete it or add the disclaimers in.
Okay.
But they're old.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, you talked fast. Good work.
I tend to talk fast. I've always been told that. Usually, whenever I had teaching evaluations, they'd be like, you could slow down just a little bit.
I got to keep their attention.
Right.
All right, let me grab a snippet, a picture. I don't know if anybody saw me rushing for my charger.
I did. I didn't bring it up because I knew you were running dead.
Like, oh crap. Usually when it pops up, it literally gives me like 3 seconds notice. So it was close. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Oh, Kayla's eyes were half shut. Let's try again. 1, 2, 3. Okay, perfect. Does anyone have questions about anything that Heidi said? I guess I didn't really open it up for questions, but
I read this book probably 2 years ago when I first started, and now I think I'm gonna go read it again.
Yeah, it's a quick
good
read
reminders.
too, and it is good reminders. I've reread every chapter before, and it's good reminders. I too need to I'm gonna make a T-chart, so I think that's what I'll do. You know, like the changes, like what you were and who you are, and I think that really
Yeah.
helps to then be able to change that story post just a little bit different each time to speak to a different part, because there's so many different parts of life that have changed in all of you, I'm sure, or even just in your family or how life runs because of coaching. So yeah.
And save it somewhere like in your phone in the notes or something.
Right, I know.
Because I have like notes everywhere of like ideas, but I just lose them.
I have to use my phone now. I mean, I or a Google Doc. I just have created.
Oh yeah.
Because then I know it's with me now that I know how to use that on my phone and the computer.
Yeah, good job.
Yeah, right.
Game changer.
Thanks for jumping on, guys. It was good to see you.
Surviving okay? Everybody doing okay? Yeah.
One day at a time.
Yeah, that's right. Everybody's healthy in everybody's houses? Yes. Good.
Thankfully.
Yeah.
Yep.
We're done too. I want the antibody test when it does come out to see if we really did have it, because I'd be curious to find out. So, yeah. My mom, I think my mom was sick too, and now my dad has it. So mom got better, now dad has it. So, tell ya. I mean, we weren't with them, so it wasn't we didn't do it. We didn't spread it to Arizona from Minnesota. I promise.
They have all the typical symptoms.
Yeah. Yeah. My mom sounded like a smoker. She sounded like my grandma sounded. Like my grandma was a terrible smoker, and she wouldn't, like, I would call her and she wouldn't answer because she knew that I would know then that she was sick. I'm doing very good today. Like then 10 days into it, she finally answered, and she still was like, I'm like, oh my gosh, you sound terrible. But yeah. Just how
Glad you're better.
Yeah. So okay. Just wanted to make sure you're all doing good.
Well, have a great week.
You too.
Back to Grey's Anatomy. Okay, bye.
Can't believe you're not going to bed. It's impressive.
Right? She's like wide awake.
I was up to 12:45 last night watching Grey's Anatomy.
Oh my
I
God.
don't do it life, but I promise I just on the weekends I have to give myself a little opportunity to, well, you know.
It's different when life is a little bit slower. Like the kids are all sleeping in and everything too. We don't have to get up.
And again, I have adult children, so let's be honest. I mean, it's, you know,
right.
Make sure the dogs are out and there's food in the house, and everybody pretty much spends for themselves around here. So, and now hubby left. He was home for like 12 days. That always throws a wrench into things.
A long time.
I know. He didn't have any loads, and I was kind of okay with that, but I sent him off with masks and sanitizer. So he's in Pennsylvania tonight, which I don't love, but so he promises me he's sanitizing in before he gets back in the truck. So
That's what we're doing.
Yep. Sanitize in, sanitize out. So
Yep.
yeah. Okay, you guys all go. Bye.
Bye, friends.
All right.
Bye.
Good night.